Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our live coverage of the latest mission from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. I'm Will Robinson Smith. I'll be conducting our commentary for the duration of this coverage. We're broadcasting, as we always do, from the Spaceflight Now News Bureau here at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. For all of you who are with us for our broadcast, which felt like it just ended a moment ago, welcome back. If this is your first launch of the evening, welcome in. SpaceX is preparing for its second Falcon flight of the day and its latest attempt to launch the Starlink 12-13 mission from Pad 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Brand new Falcon 9 first stage booster on tap for this mission that's set to lift off here in T-minus 56 minutes, 5 seconds, and counting. SpaceX is currently targeting a T0 of 10:34 p.m. Eastern, that is 03:34 UTC for those of you joining around the world. Appreciate our mods for sticking with us for one more launch attempt of the day. Rick Donner, Calista Lee helping us out again this evening. Appreciate the both of you. If you happen to see any of the other mods make their way into the live chat, be sure to give them big old Spaceflight Now hello. Of course, we're powered by a wonderful channel member community here on YouTube who make these live launch opportunities possible. So thanks to folks like Butterfly, JD, JJ Jones, Ryan Snyder, Sulfur for Lunch, The Rocket Girl, Joni Mahoney, and many others. Channel membership comes with a number of perks, including discounts at our online shop, that is shop.spaceflightnow.com. Access to member-only videos here on YouTube, access to our members-only Discord server, and of course the ability to watch all of our live launch liftoff moments from here at the Cape in 4K. Back at the helm, our Spaceflight Now editor, Stephen Young, running the technical operations of the broadcast. Our photographer, Michael Kane, getting ready to help track this Falcon 9 as it takes flight. Adam Bernstein is off this evening. If you're not already following the fellas on X, you can find them at their handles here. Michael is at MD Kane Jr., Adam Bernstein at ABurnNYC. While you're there, be sure to follow Spaceflight Now simply at Spaceflight Now. You can find us on X, Threads, Blue Sky, as well as Facebook. We'll also be joined in tracking assistance for this Falcon flight by our friends, once again, Pete Carstens with Max Q Productions, as well as Chuck and Jen Briggs with C&J Images. Time now currently T-minus 52 minutes, 20 seconds and counting. Appreciate the more than 1,400 of you who are joining with us live at this point in the countdown. If you haven't already, you could do us a big favor just by clicking the like button, sharing the stream. Allow some more folks to find their way into this live launch coverage as we cruise on through the countdown tonight. As we're getting things going here, I see we have a few new channel members joining us at the top of the broadcast. Want to welcome in new channel members James Ames joining us with channel membership at the mission specialist level, as is Raul Gaona and Victoria Larkin. Also want to welcome in Gerard Bernaccia, Carl Schutler, and Kimberly Hertler, all joining at the pad leader level. Welcome in to all of you. We're glad to have you with us. As a reminder, channel membership comes with a number of perks, including discounts at our online shop, that is shop.spacelightnow.com, access to member-only videos here on YouTube, access to members-only Discord server, and the ability to watch all of our live launch liftoff moments at the Cape here in 4K. And I want to thank K1020 for a $5 super chat. Appreciate the support tonight. If you have a comment or question about this mission or other happenings in the realm of space and spaceflight, you can also use the YouTube super chat feature. And not only will you be giving us some interesting things to talk about as we cruise on through the countdown, but you'll be supporting what we do here at Spaceflight Now, and that is always greatly appreciated. Currently T-minus 49 minutes, 28 seconds and counting. We're just about 10 minutes away from the point at which the SpaceX launch director will make the call on the start of prop load for today's Falcon flight from here at Pad 40. As we're awaiting the beginnings of the start of fueling, let's go ahead and check in with our countdown timeline, the nominal sequence of events for fueling the Falcon 9 rocket. This will be a bit of a refresh for those of you who are with us for the coverage of the IM-2 mission, but for those who may have missed that, T-minus 38 minutes is when the SpaceX launch director will, generally speaking, make the call on prop load. SpaceX does this poll electronically, so if it's in a good position, they can do it a little bit earlier than that, but broadly speaking, 38-minute mark is when that call is made. Fueling will then begin at the T-minus 35-minute point in time. It'll start with RP-1 loading, rocket-grade kerosene that is, on the Falcon 9's first and second stages. And at the same time, liquid oxygen begins flowing on board the Falcon 9's first stage. T-minus 30 minutes, they begin to load a cryogenic helium onto the pressure vessels on the Falcon 9's first stage. Helium is important because it's used to pressurize the main propellant tanks during flight. They'll do the same on the second stage a few minutes thereafter. T-minus 23 minutes, second stage RP-1 loading wraps up. At T-minus 20 minutes and 50 seconds, the strong back chill down process gets underway. We see that manifest visually as the so-called big vent at around T-minus 20 minutes and 20 seconds here at Pad 40. It's when SpaceX is conditioning the feed lines prior to second stage liquid oxygen load, which begins right about the 16-minute mark. T-minus 7 minutes is the engine chill sequence, when SpaceX flows a small amount of liquid oxygen through the plumbing and turbo pumps, helping to protect the engines at the base of the Falcon 9 first stage booster from the risk of thermal shock and damage during the startup sequence. About 6 minutes before launch, the first stage kerosene tank is full. And at T-minus 4.5 minutes, we'll see the strong back retract sequence get underway. It'll start with the clamp arms just beneath the payload fairings opening up. Then the transporter erector, or the strong back, will recline a few degrees away from the Falcon 9 rocket, and it stays in that position until liftoff, at which point the Falcon 9 will pull back in a much more rapid fashion to clear the way for the vertical climb of the Falcon 9. 3 minutes before launch, the first stage liquid oxygen tank is full. Same is true on the second stage about a minute afterwards, at which point the Falcon 9 is fully loaded with 1 million pounds of propellant. In the final 60 seconds, as we hear the call that the Falcon 9 is in startup, control of the countdown is handed over from the ground sequencer to the Falcon 9's onboard flight computers, and the propellant tanks are brought up to flight pressure. The SpaceX launch director will then give their go for launch at 45 seconds out. The engine ignition command is issued at T-minus 3 seconds, and if all 9 engines are healthy and ignite, the command will be given for the hold-down clamps to release the Falcon 9 rocket for a teaser liftoff. Coming up here once again at 10:34 p.m. Eastern, 03:34 UTC, T-minus 45 minutes, 48 seconds. Time now, T-minus 43 minutes, 44 seconds and counting. Taking a look at our live chat, I want to thank channel member and moderator Callistia Lee for gifting 5 Spacefly Now memberships. Appreciate that generosity, Callistia. And a welcome aboard to our 5 newest channel members. We're glad to have you with us. Time now T minus 38 minutes, 45 seconds and counting. Within the next minute or so, SpaceX should be making the call on the start of prop load for this Falcon 9 rocket. Once again, fueling will begin at the T minus 35 minute mark. Taking a look at our live chat, I want to thank Jesse Strutko for a $5 super chat, asking if there are any new updates about the Mars missions. And thank you for what you do for us. Thank you for the kind words. As far as the currently in progress Mars missions, I don't recall off the top of my head there being any dramatic or super important news updates on that front. We did just pass the 4th landing anniversary of the Perseverance rover. It's still seeming to be humming along just fine there on the red planet. As far as upcoming Mars missions, there is, of course, the launch of the Escapade pair of spacecraft that'll fly aboard a Blue Origin New Glenn rocket. Still TBD exactly when that will fly. The spacecraft themselves are back at Rocket Lab's facilities in Long Beach, California, so they would, of course, need to be shipped back here to Florida and then processed for the start of their mission. We'll, of course, update you on our website, spaceflightnow.com, as soon as we have any definitive word on when the Escapade mission is next scheduled to fly. Speaking of flying, though, let's go ahead and talk about where this Falcon is going to be heading once it leaves the pad. Let's talk a little trajectories, shall we? This Falcon 9 rocket launching the Starlink 12-13 mission will follow the same path as all the other flights that are part of Group 12. Once it leaves the pad at Space Launch Complex 40, it will fly in a southeasterly trajectory. And it will be targeting the booster, that is, a touchdown of the drone ship called Just Read the Instructions. If successful, this will be the 111th booster landing for that particular drone ship and the 414th booster landing for SpaceX to date. The company is working on certifying its first stage boosters for up to 40 flights. And every now and again, you need a booster that is entering service, and that's the case with this one on tap today. B1092 has no flight history to speak of. This will be its first mission, potentially on the path to 40. But SpaceX is also working to certify its fairing halves for up to 40 flights apiece as well. These fairing halves will splash down in the waters of the Atlantic Ocean under the support of steerable parachutes. The company saves about $6 million per recovery effort, and these fairing halves will be brought on board one of their recovery vessels, brought back to Cape Canaveral, where they will be refurbished and turned around for a future mission. Time now T-minus 31 minutes, 55 seconds and counting. If you take a look near the top of the tree line there, near the base of the Falcon 9 first stage, you can see a little bit of vapor trailing off there. Hard to see the frost line itself, but the vapor distinct enough against the black of the Florida night to tell that SpaceX is in fact fueling its Falcon 9 rocket, which means that they are locking into a T0 at 10:34 p.m. Eastern, 0334 UTC. As we're keeping track of the fueling progress on this Falcon 9 rocket, we are also watching for updates on the previously launched IM-2 mission and all of its payloads. Those, of course, included the launch of the main payload, the Nova C lander. But also there were 3 rideshare payloads on board: the Epic Aerospace Chimera Geo, the Lunar Trailblazer spacecraft from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, as well as Astroforge's Odin spacecraft. Within the last couple of minutes here, as of the latest update from Astroforge, they are still working to acquire signal from their Odin spacecraft. Time now T minus 23 minutes, 4 seconds and counting. I want to thank the little more than 4,000 of you who are now joining with us live at this point in the evening. If you haven't already, we'd appreciate it if you could hit that like button for us. Share the stream to allow some more folks to find their way into this live launch coverage. As we're waiting to see this Falcon 9 rocket take off here in 22 minutes and some change, I want to share some photos with you from our astute photographer, Michael Kane, from the previous Falcon 9 rocket launch from his various vantage points, both up close and far away. We'll start with this streak shot here, captured north of the pad as Intuitive Machines Nova C lander encapsulated inside the Falcon 9 payload fairings took off to begin its journey to the moon. A little bit closer, just outside of the gates of LC-39A, you can see the Falcon 9 rocket as it begins its ascent. And a couple of tighter shots on those 9 Merlin engines. Power center of the workhorse vehicle for SpaceX. Appreciate Michael for all of his hard work today so far, and got one more that we're, of course, working through and getting ready to see this Falcon 9 rocket at Pad 40 take off here. T-minus 21 minutes and 31 seconds. Shortly, SpaceX will begin the process of conditioning the feed lines at the pad prior to second stage liquid oxygen loading. We'll see that manifest as the so-called big vent that'll start at about T-minus 20 minutes and 20 seconds, lasting till roughly T-minus 16 minutes and 30 seconds. Now T-minus 19 minutes, 53 seconds and counting. You can see the so-called big vent now in motion here. Wind coming off of the waters of the Atlantic Ocean, billowing that vent in our direction. T-minus 17 minutes and counting. Little less than 30 seconds now remaining on this vent before it stops down and we see second stage liquid oxygen load begin at the 16-minute mark. Time now, T-minus 11 minutes, 53 seconds and counting. Let's go ahead and talk about the payload that's on board this particular Falcon 9 rocket. 21 Starlink satellites getting ready to head to low Earth orbit, 13 of which feature direct-to-cell capabilities. This particular mission will be SpaceX's 18th sending Starlink satellites into low Earth orbit, the 17th dedicated flight for this particular payload. In 2024, SpaceX introduced what it calls the V2 optimized Starlink satellites, which are lighter by comparison to the previously used V2 minis. It's unclear which are flying on this mission, as SpaceX has not made a distinction of when it is using the optimized V2 minis versus the previous versions, but the optimized ones clock at about 1,267 pounds, or about 575 kilograms. The other V2 minis, the non-optimized version, are about 800 kilograms for comparison. With their solar panels unfurled, they have a wingspan of about 100 feet or 30 meters. They use argon hull thrusters for in-orbit maneuvering. They were built in Redmond, Washington, which is near Seattle, and they'll be deployed at about 180 miles or 291 kilometers in altitude at a 43 degrees inclination. Now T-minus 10 minutes, 8 seconds and counting. We're just about 3 minutes away from the point at which SpaceX will begin the chill down of the 9 Merlin engines at the base of the Falcon 9 first stage booster. Now T-minus 7 minutes, 13 seconds and counting. As we get ready to see this Falcon 9 rocket fly, let's go ahead and talk about SpaceX's workhorse vehicle, the Falcon 9 rocket. Today's launch will be the 442nd Falcon 9 rocket to fly to date. This will be SpaceX's 25th Falcon flight of 2025. Of course, the vehicle stands at about 70 meters or 229 feet tall. It has a diameter of 3.66 meters or 12 feet. Majority of that is made up by the booster, bottom two-thirds of the rocket. This particular one, B-1092, is flying for its very first time today. At the base of the first stage are 9 Merlin engines, which burn rocket-grade kerosene and liquid oxygen, producing 1.7 million pounds of thrust. Around the engine compartment are black carbon fiber landing legs that will be used to land the first stage on the drone ship. Just read the instructions. Above the first stage is the inner stage. This is a composite structure consisting of an aluminum honeycomb core surrounded by carbon fiber. In the image on the right, on the image on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see the deployable hypersonic grid fins. These are titanium winglets that These are titanium winglets that provide stability and steering for the Falcon 9 as it comes back through the atmosphere, tail first like a big old dart heading towards the drone ship. At the top of the inner stage are 3 mechanical latches that attach to the Falcon 9's second stage. And at first stage main engine cutoff, high-pressure helium is used to release those latches, and 4 pneumatic pushers ensure a clean separation. Also, the second stage engine nozzle is housed safely inside the inner stage adapter until stage separation. Speaking of that second stage, the upper stage of the Falcon 9, powered by a single modified Merlin engine called a Merlin vacuum engine, or an MVac engine. It's equipped with a large nozzle which is optimized for burns in the vacuum of space, hence the name.
Falcon 9 tanks are pressing for strong back retract.
Good call from SpaceX. Upper stage produces more than 220,500 pounds of thrust, and it will be fired twice on today's flight, placing the 23 Starlink satellites into their intended orbit. The MVac engine burns the same propellant mix, that being RP1 and LOX, same as the first stage. Finally, at the very top of the Falcon 9 stack are the payload fairings, which encapsulate the 21 Starlink satellites. Fairings are made up of
strong back retract has started.
Carbon composite material, stand 13.1 meters or 43 feet tall, and are 5.2 meters or 17.1 feet in diameter. Fairing halves will be recovered a little further downrange from where the first stage booster lands on the drone ship. And as you can see, the clamp arms just beneath those payload fairings are opening up now, and soon that transporter erector with a strong back will recline a few degrees away from the Falcon 9 rocket and stays in that position until liftoff. Now T-minus 3 minutes, 45 seconds and counting to the planned flight of this Falcon 9 rocket. A little bit of housekeeping. You can see our clock in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. A little bit different than what you're seeing in the big box. Reason being, our clock is in real time, and what's coming through from SpaceX is on a slight delay. So we'll be making our callouts based on that real-time clock until we no longer have ground tracking views for you. T-minus 2 minutes, 45 seconds and counting.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
With that call, we are waiting to hear a similar one regarding the Falcon 9's second stage, and then the rocket will be fully loaded with 1 million pounds of propellant. T-minus 2 minutes and counting.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
And with that, the Falcon 9 is fully fueled and ready to lift off here in less than 2 minutes.
Ground gas closeouts.
Good call there from SpaceX, removing the remaining liquid oxygen from those feed lines. We're now just a little over a minute away from the planned liftoff of this Falcon 9 rocket. One minute and counting.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
And with that call, we're now just awaiting the SpaceX launch director to give their go for launch, coming up here in the next few seconds.
The launch director is go for launch.
And with that, we are now just about 30 seconds away from the liftoff of this Falcon 9 rocket from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. "20 seconds. 15 seconds. And here we go. In 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engine ignition. And liftoff of the Falcon 9 rocket on the Starlink 12-13 mission. The Falcon 9 has cleared the tower. Now a little over a minute into flight, the Falcon 9 now passing through max Q, the point of greatest aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. We're coming up on a few events in fairly rapid succession. We'll see first stage main engine cutoff coming up at about T plus 2 minutes and 25 seconds. That'll be followed shortly thereafter by stage separation, and then the ignition of the Merlin vacuum engine for SES-1.
Stage 2 engine chill.
That call, they're thermally conditioning the Merlin vacuum engine for the start of its first burn.
Nominal trajectory.
Good call. We're just about 5 seconds away from MECO.
MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
Stage 2 startup.
All good calls from SpaceX. So far, a nominal flight of the Falcon 9 rocket. Coming up on fairing deployment here on the next few seconds in real time. There you see the payload fairings.
Fairing separation confirmed.
Starlink satellites now exposed to the vacuum of space for the first time on this mission. Coming up, the next milestone will be the first stage entry burn. 3 of the engines on the Falcon 9 first stage booster will come back to life in order to slow the vehicle down as it makes its way towards the drone ship. Just read the instructions.
Both vehicles are on a nominal trajectory.
Good confirmation of a nominal mission so far. Both the booster and the upper stage following that nominal trajectory, as you just heard. A little more than 4 minutes into flight, a little less than 2 minutes till the start of that entry burn. That burn will last about 24 seconds in total. If you happen to catch the liftoff of this Falcon 9 rocket or the other Falcon 9 rocket that we saw earlier tonight, the IM-2 mission, we'd love to see your photos or video. Be sure to tag us on social media. You can find us just by searching for Spaceflight Now. A little more than 5 minutes to flight, less than a minute remaining till the start of that entry burn. The night being as clear as it is, we are repositioning to see if we can catch the start of that entry burn, which should be beginning here in the next couple of seconds. And we've got that entry burn from our friend Pete Carson's.
Stage 1, FTS is saved.
And a good entry burn there from the first stage booster. Seeing that from the onboard cameras now.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
And with the conclusion of this burn, we are now awaiting the start of the first stage
Both vehicles continue to follow a nominal trajectory.
landing burn, which will use just
Stage 2, FTS is saved.
one of the Merlin engines, the center one on the Falcon 9 first stage booster.
Stage 1 transonic.
Coming up on the start of the landing burn here momentarily.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And a good landing for the very first time from Falcon 9 booster, B1092.
Stage 2 shutdown.
And with the conclusion of that upper stage burn, that Falcon 9 upper stage will go into a parking orbit where it will coast until about T plus 54 minutes and 5 seconds. It will then perform a brief 2-second burn to circularize the orbit. Then the Starlink satellites will be deployed at about T plus 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 14 seconds post liftoff. With that, we're going to go ahead and begin to wind down our coverage of our second Falcon 9 launch of the day. But before we do, want to thank a few folks for their support in the live chat. Our thanks to channel member Nelson Reyes for a very generous $20 super chat. Thank you, Nelson. Good to see you this evening. He says thanks again for great coverage. Dashinj A, one of our channel members, with the $5 super chat. Thanks for the support tonight, Dashinj. Callisto Lee with a $10 super chat, chipping in once again to my so-called Halls and Tea fund, and my I can certainly feel the voice starting to give out. So let's go ahead and wrap this up with some quickness. Deb with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Deb. Regina Medeiros with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Regina. And some kind words from Nelson to close us out here with another $20 super chat saying, Will is the Doge of space launches. Doge in this case standing for dispensing only genius every day. Well, that is too kind and perhaps feel undeserving of that, but thank you for the kind words anyway. And Jason Byer with a $10 super chat. Thank you, Jason, for your support tonight. Turning now to our mission stats as they currently stand with our second of 2 Falcon flights. This one in particular marks the first trip to space and back for our B1092. That was the 441st Falcon 9 launch to date. Actually, the 442nd Falcon 9 launch to date. Alrighty, got that straightened out. This is the 442nd Falcon 9 launch to date. This was the 25th Falcon 9 launch of the year so far. Still the 484th Falcon booster reflight, as this booster was new and had not flown before, so we did not add another to this particular stat tonight. This was the 25th orbital flight of the year so far, the 140th orbital flight in the last 365 days, the 236th orbital launch for SpaceX from Pad 40, the 290th overall orbital launch from this pad as well. Take a look at the bar chart here. Moving right along to some recovery stats. This was the 111th booster landing on the drone ship. Just read the instructions. Marking the 332nd SpaceX drone ship landing and the 414th overall booster landing for SpaceX. Finally, with some industry stats, this was the 19th orbital launch from Florida, the 26th from U.S. soil, 28th from a U.S. rocket company, and the 39th orbital launch around the world. 0 failures so far on the year, and here's where our pie chart currently stands. And folks, that will go ahead and do it for us tonight on a very, very busy launch day here on Florida Space Coast. A couple folks sitting at the buzzer here. Jason Bear with a $10 super chat. Thank you, Jason. Connor Grenez with a very generous $20 super chat. Thank you, Connor. Mel Roberts Harold, one of our wonderful channel members, saying, "What a great evening with the best coverage." Thank you all. Thank you for the kind words. United Nations Space Command marking 18 months with us as a channel member at the mission specialist level. Apparently spotting a meteor that went over a couple minutes after launch. Did not happen to see it, but if anyone else spotted something similar, love to know more about it. And Connor Grenez joining us with channel membership at the pad leader level. And folks, that will do it for us for our second of 2 Falcon 9 launches on tap today. After a couple scrubs, this mission finally in the books. I want to thank our moderators in the live chat for helping us out tonight. Jeff Hansen, Rick Donner, Callistia Lee. Appreciate you all for being back with us again for another round of Falcon 9 coverage. Our thanks to our friends Pete Carsons with Max Q Productions and Chuck and Jen Briggs for providing tracking assistance. Our thanks to our photographer Michael Kane for holding down the tracking duties here at the press site. You can follow him at MD Kane Jr. on X, or the photographer Adam Bernstein at ABurnNYC. I want to thank our Spaceflight Now editor Stephen Young for running the technical operations of the broadcast tonight. Most importantly, I want to thank you for wherever you've been watching this launch coverage from. We'll, of course, be keeping tabs on what's going down in Starbase ahead of the upcoming launch of Starship Flight 8. And then over on the West Coast, we're also tracking the launch of another Falcon 9 rocket supporting NASA's SphereX and Punch spacecraft. And of course, Sunday will begin with a landing attempt from Firefly Aerospace and its Blue Ghost lunar lander getting ready to touch down on the moon's surface, the first landing attempt for that company. Lots to come, lots to follow. Be sure to subscribe here on the channel. Turn on notifications so you're aware of the next time we go live or post new videos here on YouTube. For all of us here at Spaceflight Now, I'm Will Robinson Smith. Remember, be good to yourselves, be good to others, and we will see you next time, folks. And until then, bye-bye.